Good day to you, and welcome to another episode of Anakin talking to the camera. And today, I want to talk to you guys about um, let's talk about collective consciousness, telepathy, reading minds, and where do thoughts come from. And let's get into it. Let's get straight into it, so that there is no ado. So let's first talk about collective consciousness. So what did I say? So collective consciousness, telepathy, and let's just say where thoughts come from. Come from. And this is my experience. So I had a really good friend ask me what collective consciousness was, or like he brought up he brought up how he was feeling the thoughts and feelings of society. And I said, well, that's probably collective consciousness. And so let's start by talking about what is collective consciousness. Well, collective consciousness is essentially everything and everyone and everything in the realm is connected. We're all one energy. We all come from one source consciousness, one stream of source consciousness. And so, through that stream of source consciousness, we are all connected to each other. And so, through that connection, we all have access to that connection. And therefore, we have access to each other. And Rick Rubin talks about this in his book, The Creative Act. He says, when you get an idea and you got an idea from the stream of consciousness, you are not the only one who got that idea. Around the world, that idea may have popped up in many different places. And now the universe is going to express that idea either through you or through somebody else who got the idea. So it's important that when we get ideas to express them immediately, or express them in the best way that we can, doing the best that we can to express them. Now, okay, so this is the collective consciousness. And I believe the collective consciousness is everything that every human has ever thought. It's also everything that every human has ever thought or experienced is in this collective consciousness. Well, there's some research saying that everything that we've ever experienced or thought goes into the subconscious mind of the collective consciousness, which is basically the Akashic records, the records of every human thought and experience. And so therefore, because every experience of the human being is recorded in the stream of consciousness, we have access to it. And because we're here now, like I'm on the leading edge, you're on the leading edge of whatever it is, of consciousness, of being. And so now we are creating new thoughts, new ideas out of nothing, basically, essentially. So collective consciousness is the thoughts of everyone who is living right now. And you can tap into it, the collective. You can tap into it by thinking about, okay, what is society thinking about, or what is the world thinking about? And one thing I will say about the collective consciousness is that if you want to be part of the 1% or the top 10%, or if you want to be different from society, or if you want to shine your light or be original, um, you don't need to tap into the collective consciousness. And sometimes it's even better when you create your own thoughts and you have your own identity death, and so that you can create your new identity how you want to create it. So tapping into the collective consciousness, so there are some things that the collective consciousness is thinking and doing that is not necessarily positive or good for you. So it's just important to recognize, do I want to tap into this part of the collective consciousness, or do I want to tap into all of the positive parts of collective consciousness? Or are there positive parts of the collective consciousness? regardless, you're digging in a bin or you're digging in a barrel to find good ideas in the collective. Now, the collective consciousness, they're already thoughts that are thunk, basically. So you're just delving into stuff that's already been thought. Uh, so it's good to have your own original ideas, which come from nowhere, essentially. Where do thoughts come from? So let's actually move into that. I was gonna do telepathy second, but let's actually talk about where do thoughts come from. And so when you subaudibly think a thought in your head, meaning when there's like a sound, like you hear yourself thinking a thought in your head, that's not you, essentially. That's an idea has popped into your mind, but where did the idea come from? Did you just randomly access it? Well, thoughts, in my opinion or my experience, they come from your vibrational frequency. So what you're vibrating at, what you're sending out, your output into the world, into the consciousness, into the creative energies, is what you're going to get back in the form of thoughts. So your vibrational energy will turn into thought energy, which then shows you what you're thinking, or shows it's an interpretation of your vibrational frequency. Well, that's what your thoughts are. And if we are English speakers or Spanish speakers or Japanese speakers, we are limited to that language of thought. So for instance, everything that I think subaudibly is in English, which means that it is limited to English. There are things that can be said in Spanish that cannot be said in English, or they're said in a different way in Spanish than they are in English. And going even further, the universality of art, for instance, is much deeper and more complex than English. So these English thoughts that pop up into my mind are created by the mind, which has been living in an English speaking society. And this is the same for everyone. So the thought form or the thought energy is interpreted by the mind into language, and so therefore is limited by language. And so when we talk about vibrations turning into thoughts, well, really vibrations happen as feelings, and we feel a certain way, which our mind interprets as a thought in our language. The universality of it, of thought forms, is that they don't necessarily need to be conformed to a language. Yeah. Yeah. You can have thoughts without thinking them in English. And when you do, you may not be able to comprehend it in English, but you can feel it. It's a feeling. And so this is like I was researching the other day. I was talking about how my heart understands things much deeper than my mind. And so even though my mind can't comprehend what's going on or doesn't have the interpretive ability to see what's happening in front of me, my heart can feel it. And so my heart already knows what my mind is still trying to figure out. So my heart's ahead of the game. So thereby, me following my heart or listening or feeling my heart and moving in that direction is me operating under a higher or more universal intelligence, heart intelligence, which is much, much deeper than just English. It's a universal receptor of energy. And so I think heart energy is really cool. And if we tap into that, that'd be really cool. If I tap into that, I'd like to tap into that every day, and I do tap into that every day. Every day I'm getting better at tapping into that. I think we can all get better at that every day. Okay, and finally, I want to talk to you guys about telepathy, or like exchanging ideas through thoughts. So I read. So in this book, this is called Lumeria. Lumeria is a place, a lost continent in the Pacific Ocean. It is said that with Atlantis there was Lumeria, and Lumeria is supposedly some Tibetan monks came to California and gave these guys some scrolls talking about this ancient civilization known as Lumeria. And in Lumeria, people were telepathic communicators. They communicated telepathically. Okay, and I believe that we do this every day. We communicate telepathically. Now, when I was talking to you guys about English and having heart intelligence, I believe that when we communicate telepathically, yes, we may be able to do it in English, but then it is only limited by English. And I think it has to be very refined if we're going to do it in English. I think that telepathically communicating can be done through energetic communication, meaning more universal, like it's a more universal concept because you're not sending the energy in the form of words. You're sending the energy in the form of thought energy, and it's getting reinterpreted by the person that you send it to in their own words. So it's like this thought energy hasn't yet been interpreted into language and therefore can be sent to another to then be interpreted in their own language. And so another thing on telepathy is when I am in the room alone, it is my mind. I am the mind in the room. When I enter into the room with someone else, it is our mind. And therefore, no thoughts that are thunk go unnoticed by either party. Telepathy is already happening, but the interpretation of the energy is different through language, which is sometimes why you'll find, or I'll find, that I say the same things that the other person is saying in different words. We're saying and communicating the same things, confirming for each other what the thoughts are in the realm. Now, but we're saying it with different language. Now, the thought form is the same, but the language is different. We're both thinking the same thought form, but the language we interpret that thought form to be is different based on our own individual beliefs. I believe telepathy happens as soon as you walk in the room with somebody, as soon as you start thinking about the person, y'all receive the same thought forms. Now, the interpretation of those thought forms, is going to be different based on the language difference or the language and the belief system difference of the individuals. So, if you want to tap into telepathy, all you have to do is know that the thought forms when you enter a room with another person are already, you guys are already one. The thought forms are already accessible by everyone in the room. No thoughts are hidden. Like none. No, any thoughts that you think in a room are accessible to everyone in the room. This is why people can pick up on energies. This is why this is why I find myself picking up on people's energies because the thoughts that they're thinking are already present in the room. All thoughts in the room are actually combination. Whose mind is it? It's our mind all working as one. The alchemical mix of everyone coming together brings these thoughts together. Now, knowing this and understanding this is how healing and healers and light workers and people who heal others work. And they understand this. So instead of trying to interpret the thoughts into language and teach people um, what it is that's going on in the room, gurus and swamis and yogis will see what's happening and thereby raise their own consciousness, raise their own vibrational energy to produce higher vibrational thought forms in the realm, thereby combining with all of the other thought forms and then overcoming them because of the high vibrational nature of the guru's thought forms, thereby healing everyone in the room without doing anything. And this is Zazen, doing, not doing. I think telepathy is a huge, it's like we use it every single day. Everyone uses it. And this is like, I felt their energy. I felt the energy of the room. This is telepathy. Um, thought forms get interpreted into English, and that's what happens. All right, that was a little bit of a tangent that I wanted to go on. Just wanted to talk again on the camera and then see how y'all were doing. Like the video if you like this talk. Comment down below what you want to hear me talk about, and subscribe if you want to see more of this stuff. I will see you later. Have a